I could feel the crisp autumn air as I stood in my parents' backyard, watching my sister's husband, Tyler, pull into the driveway with my brand new Audi, the car I had saved for years to buy. The car Tyler had begged to borrow just for emergencies. The car that was now covered in mud along the sides as he rolled down the window and tossed the keys to me with a smirk. The family gathering fell silent as he stepped out and announced to everyone, "You know Connor isn't a real man, he's just a walking ATM." Everyone laughed. I let out a short laugh myself, nodded, and left without another word. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. Drop a like and subscribe if you've ever had someone take advantage of your generosity. Trust me, what happened next changed my family forever. Growing up, I was never the kid with the newest shoes or the latest video games. My parents worked hard, but money was always tight. I remember watching my dad count coins at the kitchen table to make sure we could pay the electric bill. That experience shaped me. I promised myself I would create a different life, not just for me, but for my entire family. By the time I turned 32, I had built a successful marketing firm from scratch. It took 10 years of 14-hour days, missed vacations, and ramen noodle dinners, but I had finally made it. My company, Highland Marketing, was serving clients across the country. I had 28 employees who depended on me, and for the first time in my life, I had financial security. But success never changed how I viewed money or family. I drove a Toyota for years after I could afford something better. When I finally bought the Audi A8, it was because I needed to project success to clients, not because I wanted to show off. I lived in a modest house in a good neighborhood. No mansions, no vacation homes. My biggest extravagance was helping my family. Family always came first for me. When my mom needed a new roof, I paid for it. When my dad needed heart surgery, I covered what insurance didn't. When my younger sister Jasmine needed help with college tuition, I wrote the checks without hesitation. I never flaunted my success, never expected praise for helping. That's just what family does. Jasmine and I had been close growing up. Being only 2 years apart, we shared everything from toys to secrets. She was the first person I called when I landed my first major client. I was the first person she called when she met Tyler. I remember how her voice bubbled with excitement over the phone. "He is so ambitious, Connor," she had said. "Hess going to start his own construction company. Just wait and see." I was happy for her, truly. But over the 5 years since their marriage, our relationship had changed. The weekly calls became monthly. The inside jokes faded. It wasn't just the natural drift that happens when siblings build their own lives. It was Tyler. He seemed to resent my presence, my success, my bond with Jasmine. Still, I made efforts to stay connected. I helped them with the down payment on their house. When Jasmine's car broke down, I co-signed for her new one. When Tyler talked about starting his construction business, I invested $20,000 as seed money. The business never materialized. The money disappeared into excuses. Tyler was handsome, charming when he wanted to be, and could talk a good game about his plans and dreams. But there was always a reason why things didn't work out. The economy was bad. The client backed out. The opportunity wasn't right. Meanwhile, he cycled through jobs never lasting more than a few months at any company. What bothered me wasn't his lack of success. It was his attitude. He acted entitled to my help while simultaneously resenting me for providing it. He would make comments under his breath at family gatherings. Things like, "Here comes the golden boy," or "Must be nice to have everything handed to you." Nothing could be further from the truth, but I let the comments slide. For Jasmine's sake. The car situation started 3 months ago. Tyler called me late one night saying their car had broken down, and Jasmine needed reliable transportation for work and to take their 4-year-old son Noah to daycare. Could they borrow my Audi for a few days until they figured things out? I agreed with the clear understanding it was for emergencies and essential transportation only. Those few days turned into weeks. Whenever I gently asked about the car, there was always a reason why they still needed it. Jasmine's car was still in the shop. They were saving for repairs. They were looking at options. Meanwhile, I saw pictures on social media of Tyler driving my car to a golf course with his buddies. I saw posts of them taking weekend trips to the beach. Not exactly emergencies. I swallowed my frustration. I took Ubers to meetings. I rented cars for longer trips. I told myself I was helping my sister and my nephew, but deep down I knew I was being taken advantage of. I just wasn't ready to confront what that meant. The annual Thompson family barbecue was something I usually looked forward to. My parents' spacious backyard would fill with aunts, uncles, cousins, and close family friends. The smell of my dad's famous ribs would fill the air, and the sound of laughter would continue long after the sun went down. This year, I arrived early to help set up. My mom hugged me tight as I walked through the door immediately, putting me to work moving tables and chairs. My dad stood proudly at his grill, already preparing his secret sauce. My older cousin Jackson and his wife Maria were arranging plates and utensils. My Aunt Susan was setting out her famous potato salad. It was shaping up to be a perfect family day. I was placing the last cooler of drinks when I heard the distinctive purr of my Audi pulling into the driveway. It had been almost 3 months since I'd driven it myself. The sleek black vehicle that had once been my small reward for years of hard work looked different now. The once immaculate exterior was splattered with mud along the sides. The gleaming rims I had carefully selected were caked with dirt. My stomach tightened. Tyler stepped out wearing designer sunglasses I knew he couldn't afford. He didn't wave or offer a greeting. Instead, he walked around to the passenger side to open the door for Jasmine. My sister looked beautiful but tired. She gave me a quick smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she helped their son Noah out of the back seat. "You finally made it," my mom called out cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to the tension I felt. We were about to send out a search party. Tyler tossed my car keys in my direction. I had to lunge forward to catch them before they hit the ground. "Thanks for the loaner, bro," he said with a smirk. "Real smooth ride. Might need to borrow it again next weekend. Taking some clients out." Before I could respond, my dad announced that the food was ready. Everyone began moving toward the tables. I pocketed my keys, trying to shake off my irritation. This was a family gathering. I didn't want to create a scene. Throughout lunch, Tyler dominated the conversation. He talked about deals he was working on, connections he was making, opportunities just around the corner. To anyone who didn't know better, he sounded like a successful businessman. I noticed my parents nodding along, clearly impressed. I picked at my food, saying little. I was helping my mom clear the plates when Tyler pulled out his phone to show everyone photos from their recent weekend trip to Virginia Beach. My beach trip in my car using my gas. "Man, that Audi is something else," my Uncle Dave commented, looking at the photos. "Must have been a nice drive." Tyler laughed. "Yeah, it's not bad. Connor barely drives it anyway. He works too much. I probably put more miles on it than he does at this point." A few people chuckled. I forced a smile, continuing to stack plates. "That's a nice car," Jackson added. "I was thinking of getting one myself." "What made you choose the A8 Connor?" Before I could answer, Tyler jumped in. "He needs something impressive to compensate, right, Connor? All work, no play makes for a dull boy." More laughter. I felt my face growing hot. "Speaking of work," my Aunt Susan said, turning to me. "How's the business going, Connor? I heard you landed that big client from Chicago." Finally, a chance to change the subject. I took a deep breath. "It's going well. We're expanding the digital marketing division and—" Tyler interrupted with a loud snort. "Digital marketing. Fancy term for making Facebook posts. I should get into that racket. Seems like easy money." The table fell silent. I could feel everyone looking between us, sensing the tension. "It's not quite that simple," I said evenly. "There's a lot of strategy and—" But Tyler wasn't listening. He was looking at his watch, an expensive Rolex I suspected was a knockoff. Then he stood up abruptly. "Anyone want to see the Audi do 0 to 60? He dangled my keys, which had somehow retrieved from the kitchen counter where I'd left them. "Tyler, no Jasmine," said quietly. "Let's just enjoy the family time." He ignored her, turning to my father instead. "What do you say, Mr. Thompson? Want to see what your son's car can really do?" My father, always the peacekeeper, looked uncomfortable. Maybe later, son. Let the food settle first. But Tyler was already moving toward the driveway, several of my younger cousins following excitedly. I watched as he slid into the driver's seat of my car. My car. The one he'd worked years to afford. The one he was treating like his personal toy. Something in me snapped. I walked over to the driveway, my hands clenched at my sides. Tyler, I think it's time to discuss when you'll be getting your own transportation, I said, keeping my voice level despite the anger pulsing through me. He looked up at me through the open window, his expression changing from surprise to mockery. What's wrong, Connor? Suddenly need your precious car back, he asked loudly, making sure everyone gathering around could hear. It's been 3 months, I said. We agreed it was for emergencies. He revved the engine. Oh, lighten up. Everyone knows you're just showing off with this thing anyway. Trying to prove you're a big man with your fancy car and your fancy job. The crowd that had gathered grew quiet. I could see Jasmine standing at the edge of the group, her face tense with embarrassment. It's not about showing off, I said. It's about respect. It's about keeping your word. Tyler laughed, then a harsh sound that cut through the afternoon air. Respect, he said, his voice dripping with disdain. You know what's funny about you, Connor? You're not a real man. You're just a walking ATM. The words hit me like a physical blow. Someone in the crowd gasped. Someone else let out an awkward chuckle. Then others joined in, laughing, either from discomfort or actual amusement. I stood there, surrounded by my family, feeling completely alone. I could have shouted. I could have demanded my keys back right then. I could have told everyone about the $20,000 that had disappeared, the maxed-out credit card in my name that Tyler had access to, the countless other ways he'd taken advantage of my generosity. Instead, I let out a short laugh myself. I nodded, as if acknowledging a clever joke. Then I turned and walked away, without another word. I heard my mother call my name as I walked through the house toward the front door. I heard Jasmine say something to Tyler, her voice angry but too low to make out the words. I just kept walking. I called an Uber from the sidewalk and waited until it arrived, ignoring the text messages lighting up my phone. As the car pulled away, I watched my family through the rear window. They had resumed the party, apparently moving on from the uncomfortable scene. Only Jasmine stood apart, looking in my direction with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. The drive home was a blur. I remember staring out the window, barely registering the neighborhoods passing by. The Uber driver tried making conversation, but eventually gave up when my responses remained monosyllabic. My mind was racing, replaying not just today, but all the moments leading up to it. When I finally reached my house, I sat alone in my living room with the lights off. My phone continued buzzing with messages and calls, but I ignored them all. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to really feel the anger, the hurt, the frustration that had been building. The walking ATM comment wasn't just about money. It was about how Tyler and maybe others in my family saw me. Not as a person with feelings, not as someone who had worked hard for everything I had, but as a resource to be used. A bank account with legs. I pulled out a notebook and began writing. I listed every loan I'd given Tyler that had never been repaid. The $20,000 for his business that never launched. The $5,000 for emergency house repairs. The $3,000 for medical bills when Noah was sick. None of it ever paid back, not even a token effort. I wrote down every expensive item that had mysteriously disappeared during their visits to my house. The designer watch, the golf clubs, the signed baseball I had collected as a kid. I noted the credit card I had added Tyler to for genuine emergencies, which now carried a balance of nearly $12,000 in restaurants, golf equipment, and clothing stores. And of course, my car. My beautiful Audi that I had finally allowed myself to buy after a decade of driving used Toyotas. Now covered in mud, probably with food stains on the leather interior being used for joyrides and showing off. As I stared at the list, a strange calm came over me. I had been so afraid of being seen as selfish, so worried about failing my family, that I had allowed myself to be completely taken advantage of. In trying to be generous, I had actually enabled Tyler's worst behavior and probably hurt Jasmine in the long run. No more. It was time to set boundaries. Not out of vengeance, but out of self-respect. Over the next 3 days, I took action. First, I called the credit card company and reported the card I had given Tyler as lost, requesting a new one be issued only to me. I canceled the automatic payments I'd set up for their streaming services, gym memberships, and cell phone bills. Next, I contacted my car insurance company and informed them that the vehicle was to be returned immediately. I made it clear that after the end of the week, Tyler would no longer be an authorized driver. Any accidents would not be covered. Then I gathered all the documentation of unpaid loans and created a formal repayment agreement. I wasn't expecting to get the money back, but I wanted everything in writing. Finally, I changed the security code on my vacation cabin in the mountains. Tyler had been using it for weekend getaways with friends, never once asking permission. Throughout these 3 days, I ignored the calls and texts from my family. My mom asking if I was okay. My dad saying I should cut Tyler some slack. Jasmine alternating between apologies and defenses of her husband. I needed time to think to strengthen my resolve. On the morning of the 4th day, I finally called Jasmine. She answered on the first ring. "Connor, thank God." "I've been so worried," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry about what happened at the barbecue." Tyler was out of line. "I appreciate that," I said carefully. "But we need to talk about more than just what he said. We need to talk about patterns." "What do you mean?" she asked, though I suspected she already knew. "The car needs to be returned today," I said. "I've contacted the insurance company. After Friday, Tyler won't be covered to drive it." Silence on the other end. Then, "But Connor, we still need it for." "No, Jasmine, it's been 3 months. The arrangement was for emergencies for a few days. This has gone far beyond that." I heard her take a deep breath, and the credit card stopped working. "Yes," I said. "I've canceled it. The $12,000 balance will be paid by me, but there won't be any new charges." "12,000, she repeated, her voice rising in pitch. Tyler said it was just for gas and a few necessities. I bit back a sarcastic response, asked to see the statements I suggested instead. "Then we can discuss the repayment plan I've drawn up for all the loans." "Loans? What loans?" she asked, sounding genuinely confused. My heart sank. I had suspected Tyler wasn't sharing the full truth with her, but this confirmed it. The $20,000 for his business startup. The money for your roof repair. The medical bills for Noah. Various other smaller amounts over the years. She was quiet for so long I thought we might have been disconnected. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "He told me those were gifts. He said you insisted and would be offended if we tried to pay you back." It was my turn to be silent. The depth of Tyler's deception was worse than it imagined. "Connor, I had no idea," she continued, her voice cracking. "I mean, I knew you helped us a lot, but I thought it was because you could easily afford it and wanted to. I never would have." I cut her off gently. "We can sort through all of this later. Right now, I need the car back today. And I need Tyler to understand that things are changing." "I can bring it over myself right now," she offered immediately. "But Tyler, he's not going to take this well." "I'm not concerned about how Tyler takes it," I said, my voice firmer than I intended. "I'm concerned about doing what's right. For all of us." After we hung up, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. It would be difficult but necessary. I was prepared for anger, for guilt trips, for family members taking sides. What I wasn't prepared for was the phone call that came 30 minutes later. My phone rang with Jasmine's number, but when I answered, it was Tyler's voice, loud and furious. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he shouted so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Hello to you too, Tyler," I said calmly. "The credit card. The car. The cabin code. What game are you playing?" he demanded. "No game," I replied. "Just setting some long overdue boundaries." "Boundaries?" He spat the word like it was poison. "After everything we've done for you," I almost laughed at the absurdity. "What exactly have you done for me, Tyler? We've included you in our family. We've invited you to events. We've made you part of Noah's life," he shouted. as if these basic familial connections were extraordinary favors. I took a deep breath. This wasn't about keeping score. Tyler, I think we've had a misunderstanding about the nature of our arrangement. The money I lent you was never a gift. The car was a temporary solution for emergencies. The credit card was for genuine needs, not golf equipment and expensive restaurants. He fell silent for a moment, then his voice turned menacing. You know what your problem is, Connor. You're jealous. You're jealous that I have a beautiful wife and son while you go home alone to your empty house every night. You're jealous that people actually like me while they only tolerate you for your money. This attack was designed to hurt me, to make me defensive, to shift the focus away from his actions. A week ago it might have worked. Today it just confirmed I was doing the right thing. Tyler, I said, keeping my voice steady, I have all the documentation of our financial arrangements. $20,000 for your business, $5,000 for your roof, $3,000 for Noah's medical bills, $12,000 on my credit card. The list goes on. I also have texts and emails where you promised repayment. If you want to discuss this further, we can do it through lawyers. He sputtered clearly, not expecting this response. You would sue your own family, your own sister. I'm not threatening legal action. I'm just stating facts. The car needs to be returned today. The outstanding loans need to be addressed. The free ride is over. You can't do this to us, he shouted, panic edging into his voice now. We have bills to pay, responsibilities. Yes, I said, responsibilities. Like the responsibility to repay loans. Like the responsibility to tell your wife the truth about your finances. Like the responsibility to provide for your family through your own efforts rather than relying on your brother-in-law. You self-righteous prick, he hissed. You think you're better than everyone else with your fancy job and your fancy car. You've always looked down on me. I sighed. Tyler, I have never looked down on you. I've only ever wanted you to succeed. I invested in your business because I believed in you. I helped with bills because I care about Jasmine and Noah. But I realize now that my help has become a crutch. For both of us. Fine, he said, his voice suddenly cold. You want your precious car back. Come get it. But don't expect to be welcome in this family anymore. You've shown your true colors. The car needs to be in my driveway by 5 p.m. today, I said firmly. As for family, true family doesn't call each other a walking ATM. True family doesn't take advantage of generosity. True family respects boundaries. He hung up without another word. I sat with my phone in my hand, my heart pounding but my mind clear. There would be fallout. There would be people taking sides. There would be uncomfortable holiday gatherings and awkward explanations. But for the first time in years I had stood up for myself, and it felt right. The next few weeks were difficult. As predicted, family members took sides. My parents were torn, trying to mediate while not fully understanding what had happened. Some cousins thought I was being stingy. Others secretly messaged me saying they were glad someone finally stood up to Tyler. The car was returned not by Tyler but by Jasmine. She brought it back the same day, tears in her eyes as she handed me the keys. The interior was indeed stained. There was a dent in the passenger door that hadn't been there before. The gas tank was empty. I want you to know I had no idea how bad things had gotten, she said as we sat in my kitchen. Tyler kept so much from me. The loans, the credit card bills, all of it. It was hard seeing my sister in such pain, but there was also relief in her eyes, like she was finally seeing clearly after years of fog. What will you do now? I asked gently. She twisted her wedding ring around her finger. I don't know. I love him, Connor. But I don't think I know who he really is anymore, and I can't trust him right now. I nodded, understanding the complexity of her situation. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Not financially, he continued, managing a small smile, but emotionally. I'm here for you and Noah no matter what. True to his character, Tyler tried various tactics over the coming months. First came the angry texts and voicemails. When those didn't work, he switched to guilt trips involving my parents and other relatives. Finally, when all else failed, he attempted reconciliation, showing up at my office with promises of repayment and change. I didn't reject him outright. I simply insisted on actions rather than words. I wanted to see him holding down a steady job. I wanted to see some effort at repaying the loans, even if it was just $50 a month. I wanted to see him treating Jasmine with respect. Surprisingly, faced with no other options, Tyler began to change. It was slow, and there were setbacks. But 6 months after the barbecue incident, he had maintained a job as a foreman at a construction company for 5 consecutive months. He had made small but consistent payments toward his debt. And most importantly, according to Jasmine, he was being more honest with her. As for me, the process of setting boundaries rippled into other areas of my life. I realized I had been a people pleaser in my business too, taking on clients who were demanding and disrespectful because I feared losing them. I began to value my own time and expertise more, which ironically led to better client relationships. I also reconnected with friends I'd neglected, people who appreciated me for who I was, not what I could give them. I started dating again, this time more carefully, selecting partners who demonstrated reciprocity and respect. The most painful part of my healing journey was acknowledging my own role in the situation. By trying to buy approval and connection through financial generosity, I had created unhealthy dynamics. I had to learn that true giving comes from love, not obligation or fear. During a family gathering nearly a year after the infamous barbecue, Tyler approached me while I was alone. He looked different, humbler, less flashy. The designer clothes and fake confidence were gone, replaced by something more authentic. "I owe you an apology," he said, his eyes meeting mine directly. "What I said about you being a walking ATM, it was cruel and untrue. And I'm sorry." I studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation. Instead, I saw genuine regret. "I appreciate that," I said. He nodded, shifting uncomfortably. "I was jealous of you," he admitted. "Everything seemed to come so easily to you while I was struggling. But I realize now how hard you worked for everything you have. And instead of being inspired by that, I tried to take advantage of it." These words, so unexpected, broke through the last of my defenses. We weren't best friends after that conversation, but we did reach a new understanding. One based on mutual respect rather than resentment and exploitation. My relationship with Jasmine improved dramatically. Without Tyler acting as a wedge between us, we rediscovered our old connection. She confided that my standing up to him had given her the courage to demand more honesty in their marriage. They were in counseling now, working through issues that had been buried for years. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the most generous thing you can do for someone is not to give them what they ask for, but what they actually need. Tyler didn't need my money or my car. He needed to find his own strength, his own path to success. By continuing to bail him out, I was preventing that growth. As for me, I learned that being a man isn't about how much you provide or what you own. It's about having the courage to stand by your principles even when it's difficult. It's about setting healthy boundaries. It's about knowing your own worth. Today, my family relationships are stronger but different. They're built on mutual respect rather than financial dependence. I still help when I can, but now it's from a place of choice rather than obligation or guilt. The most valuable thing I gained wasn't my money or possessions back. It was my self-respect. And that, unlike cars or cash or cabins, is something no one can ever take from you unless you give it away. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family or friends? Has anyone ever taken advantage of your generosity? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating complex relationships. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's essential for your well-being and for creating authentic connections with others. Thank you for listening, and I hope this story helps you value yourself as much as you value others.